Oh. How do we get in there? Oh, did I disconnect again? Am I back? Hopefully back. Didn't get a disconnect message, but I did get a reconnect message, so I assume I disconnected. Internet, eh? Okay, this is all there is here. But we want to go down. I don't see any way down. What are we missing? Is that a door? No, that's where the thing was. That's where that item was. Oh, is that a panel on the floor? I see it. Can we shoot this? Is this a super missile? Super missile, okay. We can't even get his upgrade. Hey, it sure is hot in here. Well, let's keep going. Oh god. Get up. Oh, Jesus. Get out of the lava. Sometimes these dodges are just happening automatically because I'm holding the direction, and sometimes I need to stop and press it. Get him down. We made a to this very safe room with an open fire and some enemies. Yeah, you're not authorized to leave lava. Oh god, that thing's spawning fire bats.
Looks like the normal beam won't have any impact on the enemies around here.
Let me use my fucking ice beam. Thank you. I'm gonna die though. But thanks for giving me permission to not fucking use the goddamn. I'm gonna die though. I have like no health. Yep. Ugh. Ugh. I do like that it gives us like a Metal Gear Solid still, like Snake. Snake. Alright, at least it starts us right here. But it doesn't start us with the ice beam. We still need to go through this part of the fight again. We need to go through long enough that they give us permission to use the gun we already have. And it's not even like we found an upgrade, it's just you walked into this room, you need the gun in.
Looks like the normal beam won't have any impact on the enemies around here. Samus, use your ice beam.
What a bad mechanic. Right, I want to take these two out first. We did a... We learned how to ice beam by needing the ice beam and Adam telling us we're allowed to use it. Like, story-wise, I get why they, you know, they set up the super bombs as being like this incredibly crazy, amazing thing that can kill people. So they're like, yo, don't use the super bombs because we're in an enclosed space and you will kill people. That makes sense. But why can't we use the ice beam up until now? There's no good reason for that, other than Adam doesn't want you to. Who's Chings? I thought there was an item there. There's not. Adam doesn't want you to because he doesn't have Ethnos Cools and Ice Beam. No pun intended. Oh, can't jump on this one's head. Oh, never mind, I can. It just sometimes decides to work, sometimes doesn't. I wonder if there is a way to do that consistently, because it does seem kind of somewhat random. It would be funny if they just turned them off again. Like, you used it for the room you needed in. Goodbye. These guys take a lot of hits. Alright. So there's a room up there. I assume we're gonna go around to it? Yeah. Alright, I have a wall jump. Oh jeez, right. We can heal though. You can only heal when your health is low. You can only heal this much. Fuck, I'm using my missiles. Did Samus go mad with power water? I don't know. In fact, Samus is a veteran, they worked multiple times and you trust her not to power bomb. Yeah, like, she's not... As far as we know, she's never been like, I'm going to use a fucking power bomb and fucking murder everyone. Or I don't care if I kill people. Like, yeah, surely you can trust Samus. There's an item back there. That's a super missile door, I'm pretty sure. Let me double check. Yeah. We don't have those yet. Or, I mean, we have those, but we don't have permission to use super missiles yet. And it's a weird thing because, like, mechanically, is it actually any different than you find a pickup and you get the item? Not really, right? But it just feels way worse to be like, hey, you technically already have this thing, but we just let you use it. So there's an item back there. Well, I need to go down, right? Oh, this is a hot room. Well, let's jump in the lava. Oh, we don't have the health for this. This was a bad move. This was a bad move. I thought we could make it across. I forgot that you just go super slow. And you can't jump. That one was on me. That wasn't the game's fault. That was me being stupid. Not my finest moment, I'll admit. The game really struggled to load from there as well. It was like, whoa, you died here? Here, really? I didn't notice these last time. See, it's a good thing we died here. I got an Axel charge. Makes you charge faster. Which is good, because I'm doing that fucking all the time so I don't use missiles. No, I don't want to go in the thing again. Don't make me go in the thing again. I don't wanna. Right, fuck these guys. We do need to kill these ones though. Just try using missiles on it, see if we do it faster. I do like when you first switch to first person, the enemy slows down because it's like, yeah, we know. We know this is a pain in the ass. Right, missiles are definitely way faster, they're just way more annoying. The good thing is it can freeze them, I guess. Freezing an enemy then shooting missiles at it, that's... In Metroid? I don't know about that. You never do that in Metroid, right? Oh, jeez. Oh. How's the raid stuff going, Chronicle? Is Gate 4 happening? Or has it happened? Did I miss it? Wait for reset. Fair enough. Fair enough. Like I said before, like I don't have any context about that game at all. But it's been fun to watch. I can't imagine I'd ever play it. Which is not to say it looks bad or anything. It just doesn't look like a game I'd be any good at. Some people got unlucky. We might not have enough people. That's unfortunate. And is there no way to just like grind it out, or is it just, you know, not worth grinding out? Better just to wait for reset and do it next time. Seems kind of fucked if you... There's a petty system. But I'm honestly, I'm not a big MMO guy, so that's, I wouldn't be getting into it. Just grinding materials for upgrades, I see. Right, we're going back in here for a second, because I want to see if there is anything I can do here before we die. I think we might need a grapple beam or something. Anyway. Let's just keep going for now. You leave me alone. Oh, there was a save room right fucking here. I bet this door's gonna lock. And if it doesn't, I'll be sad. It's not gonna lock. It didn't fucking lock. I died down there for zero reason. Alright, let's keep going. Oh, what the fuck is that? Fucking get out the lava. Right, we're just gonna go back and heal. It just wouldn't let me move. What was that game with the giant on the GameCube? That's what that thing reminds me of. Ocean the Giant. Sorry, I'm doing something. This guy. Remember this guy? This guy. It's Doshin the Giant. Oh, he's not so giant now. Doshin's a little. Oh, Jesus. He can still do that, though. What the fuck? I'm sorry I made fun of you for not being giant anymore. Alright, I'm gonna go heal again. What the fuck is this area? I got upset that I compared him to Doshin the Giant. People like Doshin the Giant. I've never played it. Please don't knock me into the lava again. I'm sorry. Okay. I think he's... Oh, there's another one. I'm not fighting all these. They take so many hits and they can just knock me into lava. That's a void enemy. What? Okay. At least we get this heavy breathing Samus. You know, that's probably someone's thing. Unfortunately. Please, let me past. No. It's a stupid thing. This spot is getting attention from all around the world because they do not accept women. Their mission is to build the next generation of strongmen. Ugh, gross. Gross and stupid. Why are people like that? How'd you do that with that one? Yeah, generally, you know, you... What? Fucking kill this guy. God, I didn't mean to do that. That's fine. Is this a missile thing? I think it's maybe actually the rare time when missiles are not what we're looking for. I think I was just doing it the best way. Oh no, I'm wrong, because it only took 2 hits to kill at that time. Shit. It's really annoying they made missiles so good in this game where missiles are a pain in the ass to use. Come on. Just die. That did not look like a jump I could make. There's a jump there I can make, but I don't have the health for it now. I need you lot to all fuck off. I need health. Please, give me a save room. Observation room. That's... What the fuck? Yeah, I'm not a fan of this. This Protoss looking motherfucker. Didn't you see how badly I fucked up in the lava area? What are you doing? I mean, obviously I need to hit the glowy bit. Show me your belly. Show me your belly. I want to see your belly. Show me your belly. Oh, I've lost my cursor. I don't think he's gonna show me my belly this time. Oh, god damn it. I'm gonna die. Nope. Come on. Don't. Let me heal. Oh, thank you. Now, show me your belly. Thank you. You guys are just lifting weights and playing chess. That sounds grim. Can't use this computer. There's an item here somewhere. How do I get? Can I reach this? Let me in. I bet if you're really good at this, you could like bomb jump your way up there. But I'm not. Oh, got pretty close though. Right, let's keep going, I guess. Give me health. Hold on. I looked whole like a volcano, so I'm gonna hang out in here for a bit longer first. I actually want to go back and see if there was something. I kind of don't want to go back though, because if we die, we're gonna lose all this progress. If the giant is back, okay, you know what? Fuck it, let's do this. As I miss and almost fall in lava. Oh, I need a grapple anyway. Fuck it. Well, at least we checked. Can I heal? Nope, I can just recharge my missiles. Right, let's go see what's up with this volcano. Looks pretty cool. Can't deny that. Oh, Jesus. Oh, no. I mean, it did look cool. Now the volcano's attacking us. But at least now we can heal. The heal mechanic's so silly. Oh. And we made it to a save point. What time's it? 20 past 12. We can go a bit longer. I don't know how long this game is. I know I said that already, but my goal is to finish it on stream. Oh my god, these fuckers. The thing is, because this game is, you know, kind of meant to be like a character action game, like a Ninja Gaiden, it does just kind of throw you into rooms with enemies a lot. The mechanics aren't really deep enough to justify it. Like, you have a dodge and you have a charge beam and you have your missiles, but I never want to use the missiles because it's this. They do so much damage though. Maybe this is just the play, is just going into first person at all times and not having fun, but at least, you know, we get it done quickly. These things don't open. Okay, now these are open. Both of them are open. They go to the same place? They did not go to the same place. Oh god. Yeah, go back in this. No? Me. Smash through the glass. Where's this one go? This is the one we wanted first, because this one has the aim. Energy power, which also gave us some health back, which is good. I do hope we get heat resistant armor at some point soon, because these sections where we're running through taking damage, no, the bit. Oh my god, lava's climbing up. But I'm trying to remember what he calls the lava in Disaster Day of Crisis, but I've already forgotten. I mean, he does also call it lava at one point. He calls it something else. I can't even see what the enemy is that's hitting me, but it has big hands. Oh, it's fine. Getting the thing.
Samus, activate the Varia feature
Oh
on your
my
suit to protect
god.
yourself from heat damage.
We've been going through the lava areas for so long, and now Adam's like, by the way, you know you've got a heat thing you're allowed to use, right? This fucking game. One thing I will say as a good thing about this game is that when Samus uses her charge beam in cutscenes, the UI for the charge beam fills up, which is such a silly little attention to detail backhand. It's like a fun thing. I did so little damage though. At least we're not taking heat damage. See if we do so little damage to this for like most of this fight, and then Adam's like, you can use super missiles now. I swear to God. That's not nice. I spent all that time freezing you. I did so little damage though. Alright, that did a ton of damage. Oh no, now his arms are on fire. I guess we have to do it to the other hand now. Oh god. This boss fight's alright. Which I guess goes to, you know, continue what I was saying all along, but these like core action bits of this game, oh, it's the same hand. Then why even give them two hands? But these like action bits of this game are solid. Like this is a pretty decent like 3D platformer boss fight. Not an amazing one, but I mean it's good. He also looks kind of cool. I like his big derpy face. Yeah, I need you to just like set your hand down so I can shoot it. Please? Buddy. Buddy. Oh no! Heal. Please let me heal. God damn it. we were one hit away from killing him. We were one last job away from retirement. Oh yeah, at least it checkpointed as at the boss fight. It did not checkpoint as at the stage of the boss fight we were at, but I mean, I can live with that. That's asking too much, maybe. I also kind of like that his health bar doesn't show up until after you scan him for the first time, which you need to do to shoot missiles at. Like, this is a nice little touch. It'd be nicer in a game where the first person sequences weren't so terrible. Okay, so that's just like unavoidable. You can never stop him from doing that. Oh, I thought I could dodge that, but I guess not. It is quite annoying that when he puts his hand down like that, you lose whatever charge you have. What? I guess I was too slow. Right, now I have to actually pay attention. I see as I instantly get hit. Oh my god, we're dead this time as well. I need to like not get hit again. Nailed it. Right, I'm going to skip this stage just to heal. Which means we need to dodge all these again, but... I need to actually dodge them this time. Oh, I keep forgetting that he does that. He's good at shooting fireballs. Can't dodge in there. Alright, go on that time. Please heal, please heal, please heal, please heal. Just barely. And then we lost a bunch of it, but at least we healed. Let's get the fireballs. He's probably going to do... He's doing this. Let's do over here because of his hands. Get on it. Alright, one more. Oh. Oh. Okay, we're probably gonna die. Oh god damn it. Right, heal. Please heal before he hits us. Oh, thank you for going straight back into that. The game felt bad for us there. That was a cool animation. The boss fights are cool. As always, I say it all the time in this game, but I like the core gameplay of this. It's not amazing, but it's solid. And hey, now we have the Varia suit. So we're immune to heat. Which we had the whole time. But Adam didn't give us permission all the time we were walking through lava. Which to be fair, lava still hurts us. But what an asshole. Jesus. Where the fuck did you come from? Anyway, you're dead now. So I take it the lava went down. Oh, the big hands that were attacking us away up was obviously the boss. So the lava's down now because the boss is dead. I see. Look, it's like almost 1 AM. I've got to miss obvious things like that. Indeed. That's the way back to the save room, I think. Might as well go back. No, let's keep going. Let's keep checkpoints. Sometimes. Well, that guy just ran past us, so it's fine. Fuck that guy, I guess. Oh my god, that one just ran through us. So did that one. You two fuck off. I get nothing from killing you. Not even health, not even ammo. Killing enemies is completely pointless in this game unless it forces us to. This just doesn't have power right, I just need one there from, yeah. It's kinda a weird choice to make killing enemies in the Metroid game completely pointless. Fuck that guy up though. Another one? Come on, buddy. Oops. You know, that guy shoot a missile at me. That's my thing. How dare you? You did shoot a missile at me. That's fucked up. And that's a grapple beam, right? Yeah. And so this is probably a save room. These things we're seeing everywhere. These are super bomb bits, and these are super missile bits. So, if I remember, you don't get super bombs till like right at the end of this game, and it basically opens up like a whole big chunk of the game to this. The super bomb bits are basically like post game, if I remember right. Or there might be like some kind of last collectible you have to backtrack to collect. I don't really remember. Like the batteries in Metroid Prime 3, or the glyphs in Metroid Prime 1, or Metroid Prime 2 probably had something to it, but I've never actually played Metroid Prime 2. Well, I've never finished Metroid Prime 2. It is fucked up. They're using missiles, that's my thing. Like, I don't... Samus doesn't like own the copyright on missiles, but I mean... It's kinda our thing. That's gimmick infringement. Alright, so we can use that lift now. Also, we can just keep going this way. What time's it? We'll go a bit longer. Oh, maybe we can't go this way. I can't like freeze the lava, can I? That'd be too useful. Okay, we're going to get the grapple beam soon, I assume. Is this going to be Adam saying you can use the grapple beam?
There's a high probability of survivors hiding there. We'll have to take care of that freak of nature later.
I see. Just let me use my grapple beam and I'll take out the fucking... Maybe that purple thing is Ridley. Like, maybe it started as the little chicken thing, evolved into the big thing we fought, and then we'll fight Ridley after? Like, maybe that's part of his, he's like Cell. Looney Tunes Ridley, yeah. They made cute Ridley, Looney Tunes Ridley, and then we'll fight actual Ridley at the end. I think that's right, actually. I think that is probably what that is. God damn it. I don't know why I'm even fighting this guy. Just losing health for no reason. Goodbye. You live there now. Oh my god. Oh my god. This fucking Protoss motherfucker's back again. I don't know why this one has like Protoss armor from StarCraft. What the fuck? I like pulled it out of the armor. That's pretty cool. Take it back, those guys are pretty good. There's like a power up here, but I need the grapple beam. Big Maximilian Pegasus Tomb Ridley, that's it. Just imagine that Jonathan's exclamation mark Pegasus works in this chat. It doesn't. I have no sound alerts. Maybe someday I'll set those up. But, yeah.
This elevator is bound for the main sector.
Jonathan's Pegasus alert and your Ifrit alert are are probably my two favourite sound alerts that any of us have set up. Well, this one's blue, so you know, that's different. Did we get anything that would let us do item words? We just got the heat suit, right? We got the ice beam. I really doubt any of them are locked behind the ice beam though. Let's just keep going. Until we get like the screw attack or the grapple gun, I can't imagine we're going to need much. There should be a clown raid this weekend.
In sector 2, an irregularity in the climate control systems of sector 2 has been confirmed. Please be sure to wear protective equipment and use extreme care when moving around this floor.
Ah, good. Oh. I see. Are you gonna stream that? Am I doing that this weekend? I don't think I'm doing it this weekend. I'll happily watch that if you stream it. I've never seen the Kefka raid. There's so much Final Fantasy 14 I've never seen. I should really just watch it, because I'm never going to like do the raids. Like, I imagine someday I will do the story stuff. Because I enjoy that game. I just need time, and eventually I'll have time, right? That's how being a grown-up works, right? I say as I'm playing through Metroid Other M. Right, we're not taking damage here, thankfully. There's story difficulty rates too. That's okay. That's better then. Maybe I will get to this someday. Right, I don't know why I'm fighting you guys. I just explained that killing enemies is pointless in this game. This area looks nice though. I'll give it that. That looks really nice. I always quite like snowy areas in games. Right, these guys we do need to kill them. So they've got a nest. Fuck that. Three gates, the clown, the puppet, and then both combined. I could be streaming Final Five. You're not, you're not wrong. I'd rather stream obscure Wii games. I mean, Other M's not really obscure, but probably the most obscure of the Metroid games, at least. I think we need a heat beam. No, we need the speed booster. That's not what I was expecting. Are we looking at the speed booster soon? Are we going to be able to shine dash? I don't know if shine dashing is in this game. Oh, fuck's sake. Why are you always like this, enemies in this game? Why can't you all just fight one-on-one? Like men. As I freeze them into the ground and shoot missiles at their heads. The honourable warrior way. I thought I'd be able to do like a finishing move. I guess not. Bye, buddy. I remember getting a Metroid demo or something free with my Nintendo DS. Nice. Famously obscure Metroid series. I wish the story for this game was obscure. Yeah, true. And welcome in, Cashew. Good morning. For you. Late night for us. I mean, it's technically morning here too. Sorry about your sad ramen. Especially compared to what they used to. What happened? I don't know this. I didn't see this. Mushy pork and boiled water, oh no. Went to Mikako since they do gluten free ramen. Oh, Jesus. I didn't want to do this. We're going to get a gravity suit at some point. Broth was so diluted it left the same aftertaste drink complete. Oh, that's gross. That's unfortunate. Funnily, my sister just posted, I say just, this was, she didn't post it at fucking midnight, that would be a bizarre thing to post. She posted a story on her Instagram earlier that she went to Maki and Ramen, and I was like, damn, jealous. I've not had ramen in ages, I need to go to Maki and Ramen again. The issue is, I think I've explained this before, I used to go to Maki and Ramen all the time in Edinburgh because there's one at Fountain Bridge, which is near Cineworld. So me and my friend used to go to Cineworld all the time because we had unlimited cards. Then we go to Maki and Ramen on the way past because it's, I think it might be the biggest one in Edinburgh. So like it's, you know, there's big, there's lots of spaces, it's never that busy, so it's always easy to get a seat. And you can book ahead, so you can just book, reserve a table, go in. But we started going to the View instead, which in theory should be better because there are 2 Maki and Ramens next to the View in Edinburgh. But one of them's tiny, and the other one doesn't take reservations, and is usually queued like it's in the St. James Centre, and it's usually like queued all the way down the food court because it's so popular. And so I just have not been to Mackie Ramen in forever. What is this guy? This guy's just like chilling. He's hanging out. I like a shield. Interesting. Fancy me fancy center, yeah. Yeah, I do wish they did gluten-free. I think I could have sworn that the Mackie and Ramen up here does do gluten-free ramen. But maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we just don't all do it. Yeah, the original one's in Edinburgh as well. You have tiny one, and it's just super over, but yeah. Yeah, there's like 5 of them in Edinburgh now, I think. There's one Fountain Bridge, which is the big one I usually go to, or I used to go to. There's 2, there's like one up at the end of Princess Street. Or I guess technically on top of Leith Walk. One in St. James Centre. Is a speed boost thing. Oh no, it's a missile. And there's one, I forget what the other one is. There's one which I think is the original one, which is like out kind of in the east end of the city, I want to say. No, sorry, the west end of the city. Wait. No, it's really the first one, east end of the city. But I think I've passed it before, but I've never been out. But yeah, I feel like my friend might have gotten gluten-free ramen from the biggish one that we used to go to. The biggish one also has, I forget what it's called, you know, like the kind of like benches around the tables that you need to take your shoes off, and then you kind of go and you set up on. There's a name for it, I can't remember what it is, but they have those as well. Which is funny because sometimes they don't tell you what the table you've reserved is, so we've just, like, I have shown up there before with like docks on, and they've been like, oh, you need to take your shoes off for this bit, and I'm like, I was not prepped for this. It would have been nice to know this beforehand. Okay, this isn't working. Let's just keep doing it. Maybe my cells will break his head. Oh, I just killed him anyway. Hitting the monster in the butt, that's right. So there's an item in here as well, and then also the way forward. This guy, you get out of my way. I have my sushi socks. Yes, I would have my sushi socks. I mean, I would have worn trainers or something easy to take off instead of docks. Sitting there for like 20 minutes unlacing them, and then lacing them back up at the end of the night. Oh my god, I think... Well, there's the item we're looking for. The door up here? Where the fuck are we? Did we backtrack? I think we backtracked. Oh, we jumped down here at the start, okay. So this is the way back up. And I assume there's also like a grapple point up here, because we're about to get a grapple beam. Right? Oh, maybe not. So we'll go there. There's like a hole in the wall behind it. Fuck that guy. So we're looking for our morph ball hole that we can go in. Imagine not having sushi socks. I know, I know. Ill prepped. Was there a different way we could go around here? I think it was just a straight line. Like the items to the left or to the right here. We can't jump out of this, right? Well, we can jump off here though. No, that doesn't help. Probably something really obvious that I'm just missing. That's usually how this goes. Reset. That's it, I fucked it. We're never going to get a PB at this rate. I'm going to do that one more time and see if there's something up there we can get to. If not, I'm just going through this fucking door. I'm just dropping bombs everywhere as well, just in case. But like, I'll go this way. I'm trying to go slowly because we did fall off this at some point. Oh no, that does just drop you here. That looks like it's trying to drop you onto something, but it's not, it just drops you here. Whatever, let's just go through the door. We probably get the screw attack or something and then go and do that. Let's just heal. And there's a bunch more rooms. And maybe survivors. Right. Fuck that. I think this is a good time to call it. We've been playing a bunch of Metroid Other M. We made some good progress. There was no Wii U Metroid? No, there was not. There was no Wii U Metroid. There has been... I was gonna say there's no Switch Metroid, but that's not right. We got Metroid Dread. I was just thinking about how Prime 4 got delayed. We've only been on for an hour. Look, I've been on for... Does it say an hour? Did I disconnect an hour ago? That's fucked. That's fucked. I mean, it does say an hour. Crazy. I've been recording for 2 hours. And I'm pretty sure I stopped recording after Sonic R and restarted it. It was at least 3 hours. If I really had at least 3 announcements, oh my god. My internet. It's been fine for a bit, these last couple of days. It just went out entirely last night. Like last night I just couldn't use it for anything. Virgin Media, man. Never go with them. Never go with them. Oh man, I can't go to the home menu from here. I'll go from here though. The timer does only say an hour. The timer lies though. Let me switch to